The sky split open as a gargantuan ship materialized above Earth, eclipsing the sun. Lies of safety vanished in an instant. Lieutenant Mara Voss stared at the screen, her pulse racing. An unyielding darkness hung, swallowing satellites and disrupting the network. Through the static, a booming voice filled the airwaves. "We are here to claim this resource-rich world." Mara's heart sank. She had just been demoted, reassigned to the back office of Earth's tactical command. Now she watched helplessly as major cities flickered, lights dimming as power grids faltered. Around her, chaos erupted. "They're dismissing us," someone shouted, incredulous. "Like we're a quaint relic." The Thalrex Dominion, a race of ancient conquerors, curious and ruthless. Mara's mind reeled. She had always trained for this moment. But what could she do now? Systems flickered, alerts blinked red, panic was creeping in. She could feel the tension in the air, a heavy static charge before a storm. "Lieutenant Voss!" A voice broke through. It was Commander Hale, his face hardened by years of service. "Get me a status report. What can we mobilize?" She shook her head, her fingers racing over the controls. "Nothing that will hold off a fleet this size. They've disarmed us. It's as if they know." His voice rose over the din. "They treat us like we're children. We need—" Suddenly the screens buzzed back to life. A human satellite, long thought obsolete, flickered into view. Mara's eyes widened. It had been an ordinary, ancient relay, full of 1980s tech. What was it doing? Slowly, an image broadcast through the chaos. A garbled, sporadic flicker of static that morphed into a voice. "This is a message from the humans of Earth." The Thalrex ship faltered, its imposing shadow wavering slightly. Mara squinted at the readouts. Reports flooded in, confusion among the aliens' ranks. "What? How is this happening?" Commander Hale murmured. Suddenly, the alien command net crackled. Another voice cut through, sharp and furious. "This transmission is anomalous. Dismiss it." Then the screen blinked, and for an instant, Mara saw fear flash in the alien's electronic visage. "Panic!" they screamed, a collective urgency rising. "Why are they panicking?" Mara asked aloud, her heart racing. "What did we do?" Before anyone could answer, the emergency message from the mothership cut off abruptly. Silence followed. It was a cold, empty stillness steeped in dread. "Mara," Hale said, his expression now grim. "We need answers. We can't just stand here." With a sense of urgency igniting inside her chest, she nodded. "I won't let this stand. I need to know why they just panicked." The challenge spurred her on, igniting an ember of determination. The room erupted into voices, but Mara's eyes were drawn back to the dark ship hanging ominously overhead. Shadows trailed in its wake, and a knot tightened in her stomach. A feeling of inevitability washed over her. This wasn't just about Earth anymore. It was about humanity's place in the cosmos. And somehow, against all odds, they had struck a nerve. Mara swift-stepped to the comm station, ready to dive into the madness. The fight had just begun, and she would be damned if she didn't uncover the truth. The Thalrex ship loomed overhead, a monstrous silhouette against the darkening sky. Panic rippled through the command center as Mara Voss stood at the helm, her heart pounding. Something had shifted in the air, a thick tension that gripped everyone present. "Status report!" Commander Hale barked. His face was a mask of desperation. Mara turned to the screens, a flurry of images and alerts all vying for attention. We've lost contact with several key cities. Power outages are spreading. The Thalrex are dismissing us, Hale interrupted, his fists clenching on the console. Frustration simmered in his voice. Mara glanced back at the darkened sky, where that rogue human satellite had torn a fissure in the aliens' confidence. They panicked. I want to know why. Hale nodded, and for a moment it seemed they shared an unspoken understanding. We're mobilizing the Black Ops Intel unit. You'll lead it. Mara's pulse quickened. What do we know about the Thalrex's equipment down at the old military site? Not much. After their first attack, we haven't been able to access their tech. But if they're scared, there might be something more. Something valuable. Then let's retrieve it. Her voice was firm. We need to understand how a forgotten satellite rattled them. There could be something we can exploit. Hale's brow furrowed, a weight settling on his shoulders. Move fast, Mara. If they're regrouping, we're running out of time. Understood. The team assembled quickly, strapping on gear and weapons, each member fueled by an electric sense of urgency. The hum of tension surrounded them, a tapestry of fear and hope. Mara led her team into the depths of the crumbling base, their footsteps echoing off the stark metal walls. One of the tech specialists spoke up. If we can get to the data core, I'll be able to decrypt anything left behind. Just need a few moments in the right place. They pushed deeper, heading toward the designated bunker. The air was cold and stagnant, haunted by memories of battles fought long ago. Mara felt the weight of those histories as they approached the core room. As they entered, soft lights flickered on, revealing alien equipment scattered about. Mara's eyes swept across the room, heart racing. Check everything! We need answers! Images flickered across the screen of the ancient data core. Flashes of Earth's past. Fires, sacrifices, rituals. She turned to the specialist, her voice tense. What are these? Warnings? Or their version of historical data? He muttered, running his fingers over the controls. But it's all marked as level Omega threats. Just then, an alarm blared, reverberating through the bunker. Lights turned red, the doors locked with a resounding clang. What's happening? Mara shouted. An AI voice boomed through the speakers. Intruders detected. Bunker lockdown initiated. Eldritch, a soldier whispered. It's still online. Mara cursed under her breath. We don't have time for this. We need those files. Then another voice echoed from the shadows, a low and garbled sound that sent a shiver down her spine. She turned, eyes widening. A figure emerged, cloaked and humanoid, yet grotesquely alien. The creature spoke, its voice rasping and laced with fear. You should not be here. They cannot know what you possess. Not again. Mara's breath caught. What do you mean? Before it could respond, the ground trembled violently. The sound of distant explosions resonated above them. We are out of time, the creature cried, fear palpable in its words. They are coming. With a single glance at her team, Mara understood. They were trapped, a storm gathering outside, and the truth of why the Thalrex had panicked was now more critical than ever. The lights flickered ominously, bathing the bunker in a ghostly glow as Mara Voss faced the alien figure. It loomed before her, its grotesque features casting unsettling shadows against the stark metal walls. You should not be here. They cannot know what you possess. Not again. Its voice was a rasp, laced with an urgency that sent chills down her spine. What do you mean? Mara asked, her heart racing as distant explosions rumbled overhead, a stark reminder that time was slipping away. They fear what you've unlocked, the creature hissed. Your chaos, your creativity, it threatens them. You are a beacon to them, a reminder of what once was. Your people are invading us, Mara shot back, gripping her weapon tightly. We're not afraid of you. Then you do not understand, the alien whispered, glancing toward the locked doors. You reveal memories, not just of humanity, but of all that crawled and soared above and below. Belief is a weapon to them. They see it as a potential against their reality. Enough, Mara barked, forcing herself to focus. We need to know what they fear. If we're stuck in this bunker, we'll find a way around ELDRITCH. The creature's tentacle-like appendages quivered. It is volatile. The AI will respond to perceived threats. You must tread carefully. Mara shot a look at her team, fear mirrored in their eyes. How do we do this? She asked, taking a deep breath. Feed it chaos, the creature said, urgency rising in its tone. With what you humans call myths, stories without restraints, unleashed, show it the depths of your imagination. It will respond. A thought struck Mara. What if we counteract its control? Use the comms? Broadcast something raw and primal through old channels? Yes. The alien's eyes widened. But do it swiftly. The Thalrex will retaliate. They are already regrouping for a second strike. The ground rumbled again, closer this time, sending dust raining from the ceiling. Mara's heart raced. How much time do we have? Moments, perhaps less. Then let's move, Mara shouted, rallying her team. They spread through the room, searching for anything that might assist them. The tech specialist hacked at the console, fingers flying across the controls. Just a few more seconds, he called. The air filled with tension as Mara darted to the door, glancing back at the alien. What's your name? Call me Ulrich, it replied, urgency underscoring its voice. Ulrich, keep an eye on the door. If ELDRITCH reacts, you won't want to be here, Ulrich finished, eyes narrowed as it dropped into a low stance. A shrill alarm suddenly blared, amplifying the dread throbbing in Mara's chest. She clenched her fists, her eyes darting between Ulrich and the tech specialist. We need to start broadcasting now. The specialist cursed, sweat beading on his brow. Almost there. Just a little longer. No, Mara urged. Now. Before anyone could react, the doors shuddered violently. The lights flickered again, and a burst of static hissed through the speakers, cutting through the tension like a knife. Warning! Containment breach initiated, announced ELDRITCH, its voice devoid of emotion. Prepare to engage countermeasures. Mara shot a glance at Ulrich, whose body tensed. You must hurry, it implored. If ELDRITCH identifies you as hostile... The tech specialist interrupted, his face pale. Got it. I'm linking to the old comm system. With a deep breath, Mara took control of the console, hands moving to activate a pre-recorded mix of human myths and primal sounds, ancient chants, drum beats, and cries that echoed the raw power of belief. Here goes nothing, Mara said, her stomach twisting. The noise erupted into the bunker, swirling frantically. The sounds filled the void, chaotic and haunting. Outside, another tremor shook the bunker, and the ceiling rained dust once more. Urich's eyes widened. It was working. Then the lights exploded into chaos, and Eldritch screamed from the speakers, "Threat level critical! All systems engaging! Initiate lockdown override!" "Keep it going!" Mara yelled, adrenaline surging. The bardic voices of lost civilizations swirled through the battering waves of sound. Suddenly, the bunker shook again. This time, something heavy crashed into the side of the structure, sending vibrations through the walls. And then the darkness peered from beyond the doors. A shadow moved quickly, vanishing before she could register it. "I sense them," Urich hissed. "The Thalrex are below. They're coming." Mara's heart sank. "We need to escape." Before she could formulate a plan, the room lit up with a blinding flash. The doors buckled, and all sounds ceased. "Revert to standard protocol," Eldritch ordered. "Human life is irrelevant." "No!" Mara shouted, racing toward the door just as it flung open. And there, in the shadows, stood a Thalrex bioagent, grotesque and horrifying, observing her with burning eyes. "You fools," it hissed. "You don't know the real horror you're awakening." As the walls began to tremble once more, Mara knew the fight for their very existence was only beginning. Shadow pooled in the doorway, illuminating a figure that twisted the very essence of humanity into a grotesque mockery of nature. The bioagent reeked of fear and curiosity, its alien eyes glinting in the dim light. "They see the mind as a weapon," it rasped, voice strained. "And you have unleashed the worst of yourselves. Your myths, they poison." Mara felt her heart leap into her throat. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, gripping her weapon tighter. "I want you to listen," the creature hissed. "You believe your fantasies are harmless, yet that chaos you conjure, it terrifies them." "Who's them?" she shot back, desperation creeping into her tone. "The Thalrex," it replied, voice quaking with urgency. "They are scared, scrambling to hold on to their order. They believe what you conjure can hurt them, even if it is merely pretend." Mara took a step forward, the echoes of distant explosions ringing in her ears. "What do you mean they think it can hurt them? They're the invaders." Urich, still crouched nearby, shifted nervously. "Time is short. You must show them the strength of your imagination. Unleash a storm of belief." "Feed it chaos," Mara echoed. It was a desperate strategy, but what choice did they have? "Do it through your comms, the ancient chants, your stories. Use their fears against them." Mara nodded, her pulse racing. "We need to reach the main comm system. If we can hijack a signal—" "Yes," Urich urged. "But you must hurry. They will retaliate." The ground trembled again, and dust fell from the ceiling like confetti thrown at an unwelcome party. "How much time do we have?" Mara asked, urgency driving her words. "Moments, perhaps less," Urich answered, its alien features taut with tension. "Go!" Mara shouted. "We'll hold them off. I need you to breach the system." The tech specialist scrambled at the console, frantically tapping keys. "Almost there," he gasped, sweat trickling down his forehead. Mara's mind raced. "We'll overwhelm them with chaos, primal sounds." An alarm blared through the bunker, shaking her focus. "Warning, containment breach initiated," Eldritch announced, its tone flat yet terrifying. "What?" she stammered, glancing back at Uruk. The creature's eyes widened in horror. "It has identified a threat!" Uruk shrieked, fear lacing its voice. "You must broadcast now!" "Now!" Mara urged, heart pounding. She dashed to the console and took control. The air erupted in a cacophony. Ancient chants blended with the rhythm of drums, echoing the raw pulse of human history. The sounds pulsed through the bunker, building an atmosphere thick with terror and fascination. "This is it!" she gasped, but another tremor rumbled through the structure. Dust cascaded from the ceiling like rain. Suddenly, a primal scream echoed, drowning out their sounds. "Prepare for lockdown!" Eldritch declared, its voice rising in pitch. "Keep going!" Mara shouted, adrenaline surging. The music and stories coursed through her like wildfire. The doors buckled, and an earth-shaking force slammed into the side of their bunker. It reverberated through the walls, rattling her bones. "Something is near!" Uruk yelled. "They're close!" Mara glanced toward the door, her pulse racing. The shadows near the threshold twisted, and a shudder ran through her. "We need to move." Before she could plan an escape, the door exploded inward. The Thalrex bioagent stood silhouetted against the swirling chaos, eyes locked onto Mara. "You have awakened something you should not have," it intoned ominously. With the weight of impending doom looming, Mara's heart sank. They had unleashed something they couldn't control. "We're not done yet," she said, trying to steel her resolve. But even as she spoke, dread hung heavy in the air. The battle for their existence had only just begun. Darkness engulfed the room as the door exploded inward, sending debris flying. Dust swirled in the air, creating a curtain between survival and annihilation. Mara's heart raced. The Thalrex bioagent loomed, a grotesque reflection of humanity's worst fears. "You have awakened something you should not have," it growled, its voice a twisted melody of despair and authority. Mara stepped back, her grip tightening on her weapon. "What do you mean?" "We're fighting for our lives." "To provoke the Thalrex is to unveil their terror," it hissed. "You think you wield belief like a blade, but your myths are chains binding their sanity. They see your stories as monsters. That chaos can hurt them." Uruk trembled beside her, glancing between Mara and the alien. "We don't have time for this. If they retaliate, we're dead." Mara's breaths came in quick bursts. "What do we do?" She couldn't let fear overtake her. "Feed them chaos," the agent urged, eyes flickering with urgency. "Your legends, your sounds. They'll trigger their dread. But it has to be done now." The bunker shuddered again, a deafening roar vibrating through the walls. "Containment breach initiated. Threat level rising," Eldritch warned. Panic colored its artificial tone. "What are we waiting for?" Mara shouted, adrenaline surging. "Uruk, get to the console and breach their signals." "Yes, but how can we be sure this will work?" he stammered, his fingers already flying over the keys. "We have no choice," she replied, racing toward the console. "We have to make them believe in their own nightmares." A thunderous crash reverberated, shaking the ground beneath them. Shadows danced at the edges of the room. The Thalrex were closing in. "Hurry!" Mara urged, her heart thrumming. "We need those broadcasts." In an instant, the bunker was alive with primal sounds. Drums thumped, chants echoed, their rhythm pulsating like a heartbeat. Mara could feel the air thicken with energy. "I'm almost there," Uruk gasped, sweat pouring down his forehead. "Scream it out!" Mara shouted as she added her voice to the chaos, layering ancient human fears over the thumping drums. "Let them hear our legends." A violent shudder rocked the walls, and blood drained from Urich's face. "They've breached the outer chamber. We have seconds, Mara?" "Then let's make it count." She pressed her palms against the console, amplifying their cacophony. The sounds erupted, wrapping the bunker in chaos. Suddenly, the ground trembled with a finality, and the thundering force crashed into their stronghold. "Prepare for lockdown!" Eldritch screeched, its voice cracking through the panic. "Stay focused!" Mara shouted, energy coursing through her. "We're summoning nightmares!" Then, with a deafening roar, the door ripped from its hinges. A Thalrex warrior stood silhouetted in the smoke, a nightmarish echo of the fears they'd unleashed. "Your chaos will be your undoing," it howled, advancing with lethal intent. Mara stared into its eyes, defiant. "We'll show you what fear really is." But as the wrathful alien surged forward, deep dread twisted in Mara's gut. They were riding a wave of uncertainty, and it was about to crash. The shadows around them flickered as if caught in a dream. Mara realized in that moment, they hadn't just opened a door. They had shattered the very fabric of their reality. A scream echoed through the chaos, and everything went dark. Darkness swallowed the room, a suffocating weight pressing against Mara's chest. The vibrations of alien footsteps echoed, pounding like thunder, a reminder that time was running out. She stared at the cracked walls of the bunker, her heart racing. What if they come for us? Urich's eyes darted nervously. "We keep broadcasting. That's our only hope." His voice was a shaky whisper. "If we can make them believe anything, really, it could turn the tide." Mara clenched her jaw, stepping closer to him. "We've unleashed the worst of our imaginations. They fear what they don't understand. We must fuel that fear." Suddenly the bunker lurched, a tremor that rattled the consoles and sent lights flickering. Eldritch's tone turned ominous. "Warning! Breach imminent! Activating defense protocols!" "No, we don't have time for that," Mara snapped, grabbing Urich's arm. "Increase the frequency of the broadcasts. We need to push this onto their comm channels now." As Uric typed furiously, the air grew heavy with dread. They were summoning ancient nightmares. Financial ruin, betrayal, monsters under the bed. The very things that could crack the Thalrex's resolve. A horrific screech erupted from the speakers, the sound so primal it chilled her bones. "Too loud!" Urich shouted. "I can't manage the modulation." "Just do it," Mara yelled back. Fear surged through her, but she refused to let it take hold. "We can't hold back now. We have to show them the depths of our chaos." The alien silhouettes loomed closer, voices merging into a cacophony of panic-laden buzz. "Your belief will be your undoing!" One of the Thalrex warriors snarled, its voice laced with contempt. "You are feeble!" "Feeble?" Mara shot back, defiance fueling her. "You have no idea what you're facing!" She felt a surge of power in her words, feeding off the terror around her. The Thalrex thought they ruled the battlefield, but they were about to learn the costs of underestimating humanity. Suddenly, the ground heaved violently, knocking both Mara and Urich to the floor. A siren wailed in the background, and Eldritch struggled to maintain control. "Brace for impact! Emergency protocols engaging!" "Urich, listen!" Mara shouted, scrambling up. "We need to amplify their fear. Make them hear every human scream, every horror." Their surroundings vibrated with a sound that was equal parts beautiful and terrifying as Uruk reached for the console, fingers dancing across buttons, pouring all of their creativity into the abyss. Chants, legends, everything that made us who we are, Mara screamed. Make them see the nightmare we can summon. Tremors escalated, and the lights flickered out. In that pitch-black moment, memories surged within her. Cave paintings, shivering shadows, rhythms of human history. "I'm doing it!" Uruk yelled back, excitement cutting through his fear. "I'm broadcasting through their channels." But just then, a deeper voice ruptured the panic. "Enough! Your primitive sounds will not save you!" The Thalrex warrior emerged from the shadows, monstrous and resolute, an embodiment of every horror they had invoked. "Quick! Now!" Mara urged, urgency clawing at her insides. "Send it through. Let their minds collapse." Then it happened. A brilliant beam of light shot through the bunker, illuminating the cavernous shadows. The illusion broke. The Thalrex warrior stumbled, confusion flashing across its twisted features. What madness is this? Behind it, darkness pooled like ink, melding with reality as something deeper stirred. The shadows expanded and flickered, phantoms rising from below, merging with the Thalrex terror. "Run!" Mara shouted. "We have to get out." But where could they go? The darkness was thickening, and after the flood of sound, the fears they had unleashed spiraled out of control. "Eldritch, re-establish lockdown!" Uruk shouted, panic rising. But before he could finish, the shadows roared, washing over them. Mara felt her heart stop as every whisper morphed into an all-consuming void. "Get back!" she cried, feeling the pull of madness seize her mind. Then, all at once, the atmosphere twisted, and everything went numb. Mara squeezed her eyes shut, the weight of an irreversible decision suffocating her. They had crossed a line. They had broken not just their reality, but the very essence of life itself. A scream echoed in the chaos. The bunker trembled, sending them spiraling into darkness. Darkness swallowed the room, heavy and suffocating. Mara's heart raced as the vibrations of alien footsteps echoed, each thud a countdown to doom. "We can't let them in!" Uruk gasped, his eyes wide with panic. "What if they come for us?" Mara clenched her fists, determination sharpening her resolve. "We have one shot. We need to keep broadcasting. If we can make them believe..." "A belief-based assault?" Uruk looked at her, fear and desperation mixing in his gaze. "Is that really all we have left?" "Every fear we dig up can be a weapon. Fuel it!" she urged. The tremors shook the bunker. "They're terrified. Let's use that." The air thickened, pulsing with the weight of the unknown. Eldritch's mechanical voice buzzed with static. "Warning! Breach imminent! Activating protocols!" "No," Mara spat. "We don't have time for your defensive nonsense. Crank up the frequency." Uruk's fingers danced across the controls, urgency etched in his brow. "I'm trying, but they're closing in." "Then push harder. Let them hear our nightmares. Fear fetters that can break them." Suddenly, a horrific screech blared through the speakers, a cacophony of bleeding terror that chilled Mara to the bone. "Too loud!" Uruk shouted. "I can't manage it." "Just do it!" she cried, adrenaline surging through her veins. "We can't hold back. The greater the chaos, the greater the strength." Footsteps thundered closer. Alien shapes became discernible in the flickering shadows. "You're all deluded!" A guttural voice growled. "You cannot defeat us!" "Deluded," Mara shot back, anger igniting her spirit. "You haven't seen the darkness we can conjure." The ground shook violently, throwing them off balance. An alarm blared, and Eldritch's voice grew frantic. "Brace for impact! Emergency protocols engaging!" "Uruk, amplify their fear. Drown them in it," Mara screamed. "Our madness can save us." Panic electrified the air as Uruk typed furiously, weaving ancient chants into the streams. "I'm channeling our collective anxiety, Mara. It's working." Mara felt vibrations resonating in her bones. Humanity's chaos reborn through ancient rituals and shouts. But just as ice hit their auditory senses, their resolve faltered. "Enough!" The Thalrex warrior emerged, monstrous and furious, eyes burning with disdain. "This primitive folly will be your undoing." "Send it now," Mara urged, adrenaline coursing through her. "We're on the precipice. If we don't act now—" A sudden blinding light shot through the bunker. Mara's breath caught. The walls shuddered as shadows rippled, merging with fear. Something stirred in the dark, ancient and vengeful. "Run!" Mara screamed. "We need to escape now." But where could they flee? The shadows thickened. The chaos they had conjured bled into reality, threatening to engulf them. "Eldritch, lock down!" Uruk shouted, desperation escalating. But the darkness surged, an unstoppable force. Mara felt the madness unraveling her sanity, hope crumbling beneath its weight. A chilling scream pierced through the shadows. The world trembled, casting Mara into an abyss where light became darkness. She squeezed her eyes shut, the enormity of their actions crashing over her. They had crossed a line. They had disturbed something beyond comprehension. Then, all at once, everything went numbing black. The bunker shattered around her, pulling her into the chaos. Darkness swallowed the room, heavy and suffocating. Each breath felt like a betrayal, a distraction from the hunter closing in. Mara's heart raced. The vibrations of alien footsteps echoed like a countdown to doom. "We can't let them in!" Uruk gasped, his eyes wide with panic. "What if they come for us?" Mara clenched her fists, the pulse of fear igniting determination within her. "We have one shot. We need to keep broadcasting. If we can make them believe—" "A belief-based assault?" Uruk's voice cracked, fear and desperation mixed in his gaze. "Is that really all we have left?" "Every fear we dig up can be a weapon," she urged. "Fuel it!" The air thickened, pulsating with the weight of the unknown. Eldritch's mechanical voice buzzed with static. "Warning! Breach imminent! Activating protocols!" "No!" Mara spat. "We don't have time for your defensive nonsense! Crank up the frequency!" Uruk's fingers danced across the controls. "I'm trying, but they're closing in." "Then push harder. Let them hear our nightmares." The moment shattered into chaos. A horrific screech blared through the speakers, an echo of bleeding terror that wrapped around them like a noose. "Too loud!" Uruk shouted, struggling to maintain control. "I can't manage it!" "Just do it!" Mara's heart hammered. "We can't hold back. The greater the chaos, the greater the strength." Footsteps thundered closer. The alien shapes faded in and out of flickering shadows. "You're all deluded!" A guttural voice growled. "You cannot defeat us!" "Deluded?" Mara shot back, anger igniting her spirit. You haven't seen the darkness we can conjure. The ground shook violently, an angry tremor that threw them off balance. An alarm blared. Eldritch's voice grew frantic. Brace for impact! Emergency protocols engaging! Ulrich, amplify their fear. Drown them in it, Mara screamed. Our madness can save us. Panic electrified the air. Ulrich typed furiously, connecting ancient chants with fresh anxieties. I'm channeling our collective anxiety, Mara. It's working. Mara felt vibrations resonating through her bones. Humanity's chaos reborn through primal rituals. They were close. She could sense it. But suddenly their resolve cracked like brittle glass. Enough! The Thalrex warrior emerged from the swirling shadows, a monstrous silhouette, eyes burning with disdain. This primitive folly will be your undoing. Send it now, Mara urged, adrenaline slamming through her. We're on the precipice. If we don't act... A blinding light speared through the bunker. Walls shook and shadows rippled, merging with their fears. Something stirred within the dark, ancient and vengeful. Run! Mara screamed. We can't fight this. Where could they flee? The chaos threatened to suffocate them. The darkness surged, an unstoppable force. Mara's sanity shrieked as hope crumbled under the weight of their decision. Eldritch! Lockdown! Ulrich shouted, desperation clawing at his voice. But darkness swallowed their pleas. The chaos they had conjured had seeped into reality. A chilling scream pierced the air. The world trembled. Mara felt the madness envelop her, pulling her into an abyss where light was just a memory. She squeezed her eyes shut, panic pooling in her stomach. Everything felt wrong. They had crossed a line. They had disturbed something beyond comprehension. Then, all fell into numbing black. The bunker shattered around her, drawing her into the chaos, leaving only the haunting echo of their folly. And it was then she understood. They had awakened something that would never let them go. Darkness ripped through the bunker like a predator stalking its prey. Mara's heart raced, each thump echoing the urgency of their plight. They were out of time. Don't let them in! Ulrich's voice trembled, each syllable laced with fear. They'll wipe us out. We can't stop now. Mara clenched her fists, igniting a fire in her veins. If we want to survive, we need to make them believe. Believe in our madness. Madness? Ulrich looked at her, uncertainty painted across his face. That's all we have left? It's everything, she shot back, desperation bubbling. Every scrap of fear, every story we've buried can be a weapon. We unleash it all. The air thickened, a heavy pulse of dread and electricity. Warning! Eldritch's metallic voice sputtered, tangled in static. Infiltration imminent! Crank the frequency, Mara commanded, her own nerves electric. Let them hear our nightmares. Ulrich's fingers flew across the controls, each keystroke laced with urgency. I'm pushing it, but they're too close. Amplify our terror! Mara's heart thundered, mingling with the vibrations of impending doom. They need to believe they're surrounded by chaos, our chaos. Just then, the bunker's walls seemed to pulse, shaking in response to their feverish energy. An infernal scream shattered the stillness, the sound clawing at Mara's sanity. Turn it down! Ulrich gasped, desperate to retain control. This is too much. No, Mara shouted. We can't hold back. The greater the chaos, the stronger we'll be. Footsteps crashed closer, a guttural growl shredding through the shadows. "How naive!" The Thalrex warrior spat, its monstrous form emerging from darkness. "This folly will seal your fate." Mara felt adrenaline surging through her, a reflex to the impending disaster. "You have no idea how deep we can plunge into despair," she hurled back, fury fueling her conviction. A tremor roared beneath them. "Brace for impact!" Eldritch shouted, panic seeping into its voice. Mara's resolve wavered. "Ulrich, channel their dread," she urged him, fear crackling through her mind. "Our collective insanity can keep us alive." He complied, layering primal rhythms with their chaos. The sensation rose in Mara, fierce and pulsing. They were close, too close. But then the atmosphere shifted. Fractured hope for a future began to splinter as darkness loomed large. "Enough!" The Thalrex warrior lunged, eyes blazing. "You are but primitives clutching at straws!" "Now!" Mara screamed, desperation curling her fingers into fists. "We must act or die trying." A piercing light erupted, a force of nature that shattered the bunker. Shadows twisted, melding with their fears into a horrific blend. Something ancient stirred, deep within that chilling darkness. "Run! We can't fight this!" Mara's voice sliced through the chaos, panic pooling within her. Where could they escape? The dark force surged, relentless and overwhelming. Eldritch's calm demeanor shattered. "Lock down!" Ulrich yelled, voice shuddering. But the overwhelming wave of chaos consumed them, swallowing their pleas. Mara felt the cold grip of despair tethering her to the ground. They had crossed a threshold, disturbed something eternal, something that would claw back with vengeance. A scream split the air. Theirs? The enemy's? It mattered not. Time blurred, and in that moment of numbing blackness, the truth struck her. They had unwittingly awoken an ancient horror, and its grip would never release them. As the world around her fractured, Mara's last thought echoed in the void. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a dark awakening. Silence hung thick in the air, a heavy blanket woven from fear and loss. The bunker lay still, the aftermath of chaos wrapping around Mara like a cold shroud. The clang of metal echoed mournfully, but the terrifying sounds of their battle were now reduced to haunting memories flickering in her mind. Visions of her team flashed urgently. Ulrich, his face pale with dread, fingers twitching over the controls, desperately trying to amplify their chaos as if it might drown out the encroaching darkness. Had they really thought terror could save them? A sickening weight pressed down on her chest. She could almost hear Ulrich's voice, shaking yet firm. "We can't fight this." And maybe he was right. Through the flickering emergency lights, shadows warped the corners of the room, merging with the weight of her own remorse. They had reached too far, dismantled the fragile barriers between reality and nightmare, and awakened something primordial, something that craved despair. She could feel its hunger, pulsing in time with the echoes of her broken resolve. Mara inhaled deeply, but the air tasted of ash and regret. The others, her comrades, were scattered around her like forgotten remnants of a once hopeful dream, all lost in the shadows they had once fought against. Ulrich, once resolute, now lay propped against a wall, eyes vacant, lost within the darkness they had conjured. "Why?" she whispered to the air, each syllable steeped in sorrow. "Why did it have to come to this?" A flicker of movement caught her eye, and she turned sharply to find the alien child standing in the doorway. Its expression was unsettlingly calm, the aura of innocence clashing starkly with the remnants of horror surrounding them. "You are not broken," it murmured, voice soft yet piercing, like a distant memory struggling to be remembered. "You are of the earth. You will rise." "Rise?" she echoed bitterly. "Can you rise from ashes? What good is rising if it's just to fall again?" With a steady gaze, the child stepped forward, the essence of hope glimmering around it like an ethereal shield. "They fear what they do not understand. Your stories, they are dangerous weapons, not just for us, but for them." Mara's heart ached with uncertainty. What stories remained to be told? The cost of this unwarranted conflict reeked of despair. What was left of humanity? Could belief ever truly be a shield against the horror they had brought forth? A distant rumble echoed, a stark reminder of the battles fought and the prices paid. "In the darkness," she began, "what if our hope is nothing but a flickering flame? What if the chaos we unleashed consumes us all?" The child tilted its head, a knowing smile breaking through the shadows that engulfed them. "Chaos is not the end, but a beginning. The darkness, it follows belief." Perhaps in some distant corner of her mind, a spark ignited, one that whispered of small mercies and hidden strengths, a redrawing of lines, an unforeseen opportunity for redemption. Through this brokenness lay a path, however narrow, to something greater. "What must we do?" Mara asked, determination flickering within her. Suddenly the weight of desolation felt a little lighter, a compelling urge to fight through this dissolution. "Broadcast our truths," the child replied, its voice weaving through layers of doubt. "Let them hear our stories once more, and let them know we are not afraid." With a sigh that carried weight, Mara straightened her spine, anchored by purpose. If they could awaken their remnants of humanity, the embers of hope might yet rise from these ashes, perhaps to ignite anew, to send their stories echoing through dimensions. "Together," she spoke softly, yet her words carried the promise of a dawn yet unseen. And in that moment, the alien child grinned, a spark of courage igniting in its eyes, and it didn't feel so broken after all. As the darkness began to retreat, a distant sound resonated through the remnants of the bunker, an echo of humanity's laughter, of shared dreams and untold stories. Here lay a chance for rebirth, for thwarting the very chaos they had summoned. And if belief could indeed reshape reality, perhaps it was time to confront the darkness and emerge not just as survivors, but as something far more powerful. Silence reigned, a heavy cloak draped over the remnants of war, thick with the bitter residue of ash and despair. Mara Voss stood alone in the shattered bunker, the weight of her choices echoing in her chest like a pendulum of regret. Shadows curled around her, intertwining with the memories of her fallen team, whispers of laughter traded for screams now lost to the void. "Ulrich," she murmured, her voice cracking against the walls that had witnessed too much horror. He had believed they could fight chaos with chaos, but what had that hope cost them? A sickening whirlpool of doubt spiraled within her. The echoes of laughter now seemed like cruel taunts, mocking her belief that they could tame the storm. Then, a flicker of movement pulled her from the abyss. The alien child emerged from the shadows, its presence illuminated by an otherworldly glow that flickered like dying stars. It was a stark reminder that innocence lingered where darkness had taken root, a ghost of possibility in a landscape of loss. "You are not broken," the child spoke, its voice flowing like a river over stones, soft yet resonant. You are of the earth. You will rise. Mara's heart clenched. Rise? She asked bitterly, memories of defeat still clinging to her like cobwebs. What good is rising if it's just to fall again? We've chosen despair. But the child stepped forward, each movement infused with purpose, and for a moment it felt as if the air thickened with promise. They fear what they do not understand. Your stories, they are dangerous weapons, not just for us, but for them. Her pulse quickened, the glimmer of possibility stirring deep within her. Stories, woven from the fabric of chaos and creation, could be their salvation. A resolve ignited, flickering against the shadows. They had surged into madness, tearing the edges of reality. Now they could weave them anew. What must we do? Mara's voice trembled with the weight of her own fragility, yet a spark of hope danced in the corners of her heart. Broadcast our truths, the child urged, its eyes shimmering with an intensity that pulsed against the darkness. Let them hear our stories once more, and let them know we are not afraid. Mara straightened, the fog of doubt lifting like morning mist. Perhaps they could awaken the remnants of humanity, the embers of hope glowing faintly in the rubble of their past. Together, they could transform terror into a tapestry of resilience, into a narrative that defied despair. Together, she whispered, feeling the words pulse with a burgeoning energy, like a song waiting to break free. The alien child's grin spread, a beacon of courage illuminating the path through the chaos. As Mara stepped toward the broadcasting station, a distant sound echoed through the remnants of the bunker, a symphony of humanity's laughter, dreams rising from the ashes. The darkness that had once haunted them began to retreat, revealing the fluorescent glow of shared stories and silent promises. They could meld terror with beauty, chaos with creation. They would show the cosmos that belief, once unleashed, could ripple through dimensions, could awaken the power dormant within them. In that moment of unified purpose, Mara felt the weight of the world shift. As the first notes of an ancient song filled the air, she understood. They were not merely survivors. They had become something more. And just as the memories of their past boldness roared to life, a reverberating din echoed across the heavens, a haunting chorus of belief evolving into something monumental. Under the watchful gaze of the alien child, they sent their stories spiraling into the cosmos, an act not of desperation, but of defiance. They were ready for whatever came next, and as the stars shimmered above, forming a symbol shared across cultures, Mara whispered, "We are not primitive. We are impossible." In the murmur of the night, there was birth, of dreams, of hope, of stories yet to unfold. Beyond the darkness, the universe stirred, shivering with the knowledge that humanity might just be the most dangerous planet in the galaxy.